gentlemen, welcome to part 2 of part 2 of the indifference discussion. The video called The Sage and the Emperor, or The Emperor and the Sage, the story I told. And I wanted to just put a little bit more spin on this whole thing, because like everything else, I said in there, you could, to be fearless, to be courageous, to be like our sage friend, who was so completely unconcerned, so indifferent to his own life, that he was not even afraid of having his head cut off by the emperor of the world. He was not afraid to tell the emperor of the world that he didn't think he was so great, even though he kept calling himself that. So we can also often get into our superhero mode. Remember, I mentioned in one of the videos on the Balls Project itself about the archetype of the superhero, which is a boyhood archetype, that the real hero is vulnerable. The real hero is aware of his weaknesses, whereas the superhero of the child is invulnerable. Nothing can hurt them. That's the mythology of young boys. And in fact, the initiation rituals that were created by men, by the elders, to initiate the boys into manhood, usually involved a lot of suffering, a lot of getting viscerally in touch with how vulnerable they actually were, including like the circumcision in a couple of traditions, where they actually cut the head of the penis off, the skin off the top of the penis off. I mean, what could be more, look, buddy, your masculinity is not invulnerable. You are not inviolate. You're going to have to own your vulnerability in order to really be a man, and understand the interdependency you have with others and with the tribe. And what it really means to be a man is to do your job and to have a vision for where things can go for all of us. So drop the superhero idea, okay? Don't try to interpret indifference from the point of view of the superhero who's always in charge and always know what's going on. I'm the one. That's not it. You'll never, ever get to that. It's not possible to get to that. So what we're talking about is the ideal of someone who has transcended their petty self-interest in favor of something bigger than themselves, something more important than themselves. They have completely owned the fact that there's a limit to their power, there's a limit to what they can do. And so we, as men, accept the vulnerability, the pain, the suffering that goes along with that. We accept the fact that we're interdependent, and that we have to rely on others, and that we ourselves have to be reliable. It's just the nature of the beast. So, here's a really important point I want you to get. Don't get stuck in indifference. When you start making it into an ideal, suddenly everything is about, I have to be indifferent, I have to be indifferent, I have to be indifferent. What happens? You're getting stuck. Which means if there's anything going on in your life that you aren't indifferent about, you got a problem. Something in your life that actually needs you to be connected to it. Something that matters. Something that matters so much that you're willing to die for it, or kill for it, or both. That's not indifferent. But it's just mature indifference. It's an indifference to yourself in preference for something bigger. And so now you're not stuck in indifference. Again, those of you who know me know my teaching is always going back and forth between these polarities, caring intensely and being indifferent. The power to move back and forth between those as needed, and the wisdom to know when to do it, is the real signature of the master. That's the real gift of the elder. And it does not come quickly, and it does not come overnight. The initiation out of superhero-ness into your vulnerability is the first step on the path to the real thing. The indifference is an absolute necessity to cultivate that quality. If you don't have that quality, you're dependent on others. When you cultivate it, you become independent of others. And when you grow into wisdom, you become interdependent on others. And you know when to say no, and you know when to say yes. And that's what we're really after here. But I want you to understand, and we'll get to the real mission here in a second, you're never going to attain full indifference, and you don't want to. You simply want to be able to be in any situation and accept how you're feeling in that moment. If you're afraid, you're afraid. But what do you need to do? What do you need to do in that moment? And it may be as simple as, I got to do my job, I got to do my taxes, I got to balance my checkbook, I got to do this thing I don't want to do. It can be something more intense, like I really need to talk to that woman. I want to talk to that woman. I'm scared to. Okay, I'm scared to. And I'm going to do it. That's indifference. I'm indifferent to my own fear because something bigger than that is moving me to do something outside of where I want to be. Let me show you something. Here's where you are. Here's where you are. Here's your little face, right? There's where you are. This is where you want to be. This is the man you want to be. This is what you want to be, do, and have. Okay? Over here is your comfort zone. Over here is the new comfort zone. And what's in the middle? What's here in the middle in the DMZ? The discomfort zone. You will never get to where you want to be without walking through pain, fear, suffering, self-doubt, confusion. You never get there. Why? Because the moment you try to do something you've never done before, the whole nervous system has to retrain itself. It goes into the state of adaptation. And when that happens, it's in a state of instability and discomfort. So if you're afraid, if you're feeling fear, good. That's what you need to be fear. It means you're outside of this. You're here. You're in the discomfort zone. And you can go, holy shit, it's scary, and run back to the comfort zone. Or you can go, whew, keep going. As a friend of mine said, if you're walking through hell, keep walking. If you keep walking through it, and you use something like the allowing technique to let yourself feel it, but keep going. Don't turn around and run back. Keep going. You'll eventually get here. You'll eventually stabilize here, and then this will become the new comfort zone. You'll be perfectly content here. You'll be perfectly happy. This will be your new level of operation. And then, of course, until you see something beyond, and then you do it again. This is the development of us. This is the real warrior spirit. This is the real thing when, in the initiation rituals, when the kids when the young boys were finally initiated out of the superhero mythology and into a genuine engagement with their lives and with the lives of the tribe, the first thing that happened to them is they became warriors. And warriors isn't just going out and fighting. A warrior is somebody who can do this. Who can do this and do this consistently enough that eventually they will master it to become at the next level, which is the king, and beyond that, the elder, which is the magician, the master, the one this doesn't even exist anymore because this is so easy to do. It's just so natural to do. This ceases to exist. Which means the real mission is what? Again, that indescribable thing in the center that moves freely from one side to the other, from indifference to total caring, to no to total yes, and has the wisdom to know when to do that and is willing to endure the pain of the discomfort zone long enough to make the transition that's necessary, because it's being guided not simply by creature comfort, but by a vision of what can be. And that was part of the initiation ritual. Often they had to come back with a vision. It was a vision quest to the Native Americans. And they had to stay out there till they got one. And if you didn't get one, you didn't come back. You died. That's how important it is. That vision guides you. That vision is what sustains you when you have forgotten why you're doing this. Ah, yes, that's why I'm headed somewhere. I don't even know if I'm going to get there. I don't even know if I'm heading in the right direction, but I'm going to keep moving. This is the mission. moving when you don't even think you can. So ultimately, you become the elder. You become the one who knows, the one who's been through it so many times, it's not even an issue any longer. It's simply the way it is. All right, guys. G.P. Walsh, The Balls Project. That's the end of the Emperor and the Sage saga. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Ciao for now.